It's time that we talk about something that no one else wants to talk about. 25 to 30% of American adoptions are failing. Why? Well, there's a few different reasons. Sometimes it's just not a good match. Sometimes there's more research that needs to be done about the families that are applying, or more information and disclosure given about the children that need families. Sometimes it's because there's a lack of support structure, a lack of training in trauma-informed care, and provision for services after the adoption. Everybody thinks about adoption as sunshine and rainbows, your forever family. But more times than we want to admit, it turns into cuss you out and kick you in the knee. There's hope, and that's what we do at My Father's Arrows.
I trained in Chicago and San Francisco, Oakland area, and thought that I had seen all there was to see in pediatrics, but I was wrong. I came to My Father's Arrows approximately 8 years ago, and I saw kids here that stole my heart. They are victims of abuse, neglect, and some actually victims of torture that require so much help, and they have a willingness to accept that help here.
Let me tell you about Chase's story. Chase was born into a low-income family who were drug addicted and had legal and abusive situations. Chase was found walking down the side of the road in a dirty diaper and covered in dirt and feces. When the police officer was able to find him and find where he came from, the DCF worker said that the home that he was in was the worst case she had ever seen. He was being kept in a back room with the animals and being kept in a cage. When they finally brought Chase to his foster home, he wasn't taught how to have manners and social skills and how to trust and how to behave correctly. And so a lot of his behaviors were negative behaviors, and families couldn't control what the behaviors were. So he was passed around from foster home to foster home. And multiple nights he slept on the caseworker's floor because they couldn't find a home that would take him. So this went on for several years until he was able to find an adoptive home. And all went well for the first little while. But after the honeymoon period was over and his behavior started becoming extreme, such as setting fires, threatening the other children, destroying the house, kicking the dog, and Chase would rage for hours. He would be destructive and tear things up. He was behind in school. He couldn't trust. He couldn't find his way out.
When a child lived in chaos and all they've known is change and loss after loss and loss, why should they trust or believe anybody? Why should they obey? Why should they form a relationship if you're just going to leave too? These children don't feel rescued, they feel interrupted. They're not used to having adults to meet their needs. They're used to fending for themselves and protecting themselves from hurts.
And it definitely affects the wiring of their brain. Like any trauma, the neural network starts creating in this way where the brain thinks that it's constantly in danger. It's constantly looking for a way to be safe.
The good news is that these children can heal, and they do heal with time. If you can't stand being in your own skin and you're so uncomfortable with peacefulness or routine, you can't deal with yourself. You certainly can't build relationship. It's not that the kids won't obey or won't have relationship. It's that they simply can't. We help show them a way that they can.
At My Father's Arrows, we use TBRI, which is trust-based relational intervention, which is meeting the need behind the behavior.
And in TBRI, instead of sort of the typical parenting model where you're looking at the behaviors of the children and what they're doing wrong or what they're doing right, we're looking for what is the need behind the behavior, because behavior is communication. They're trying to tell us something. They're trying to tell us how they were hurt. They're trying to tell us how they were left. They're trying to tell us how they're lonely, how they're scared, how they're angry. And when we can listen and respond in a consistent, safe way, they can feel safe and they can connect.
Some of our children have food anxiety. They're able to help pick ingredients, make meals. We teach them how to cook things. Sometimes they may not feel hungry. Their body doesn't tell them that they're hungry, but some children in traumatic situations, they don't know where their next meal is coming from, so they always feel like they need to have food, or they need to hoard food, or they have to have it at all times on their person. So it's a comfort thing as well as meeting the need. If they get hungry, it's always available to them.
First, we got basic, going out there, just basic caregiving for the horses. We'll fill their hay nets and teach them, how to clean the stalls and get the horses out, put halters on them and get them to the round pen so they can get exercise.
Horses are really interesting when it comes to therapy because horses are always in the present moment. We are not. We think about things that have happened in the past, we hold grudges, we worry about the future. Horses are always in the present. They also are perfect at mirroring our own emotions. They are more perceptive than dogs when it comes to sensing what we're feeling. They know more than we do. So when you approach a horse with anger, it's not going to cooperate. So people who have problems regulating emotion have to quickly learn how to regulate in order to get that horse to cooperate. So we see a lot of success with that. And as they work in these different modalities, even with the horses, it creates new neural networks. Their brain literally starts healing from the inside out. And they learn then, how do they manage these emotions? How do they put words to what they're feeling? And it helps to heal the brain and to start healing from trauma to be able to have normal emotions.
With the levels that we have, the way that we work here, getting them to that status, to be able to have that ability to get on the horses and do things makes a difference too for them, because that gives them a sense of accomplishment and enjoyment of being able to, I'm taking care of them, but I'm also getting to be able to ride them.
They learn instruments like the ukulele or the bells. They express it in music. We have art projects that we do with them. Has worked in a positive way for our children. We have some children that make beautiful paintings. Some of them like to write, and they've turned their writings into songs and use that with the music to express themselves when they don't know how in any other way.
Being a part of a group and, and learning to cooperate with one another and enjoy each other's company is a big thing for those, the kids here.
Well, they're playing. The kids are playing. They're being kids. They climb trees. They make mud pies. They feed horses. They plant gardens. They go on nature walks. They sit down and they color and they paint and they play with Play-Doh. They do what kids should do. Outside of the constraints of social media and the pressures of comparison, comparison, they say, is the thief of joy. So instead of worrying about what everybody else is doing and always feeling like not enough, they can learn who they are and recognize that they are enough.
Well, the Bible says, and I can't directly quote the scripture, but he specifically gives us a command to take care of the widows and the orphans. And I believe that it is so important that we take care of these children, because while they're with us, they are like our own children. And if it were my personal home, I would want my children to grow up to know the love of the Father like I was taught as a child. And so that's why it's so important for us and myself to know that we're displaying the love of the Father, understanding that we are human, but we also need to know that people watch our actions and they will learn to do because of what they see. So if we display the love of the Father, then shortly after they will come to know the love of the Father as well, and they'll be able to show His love. And people want to question when they see the love of the Father on others.
Our children are the ones that are the encouraging, the courageous child, the one that's full of possibilities. They're loving and funny and kind. And honestly, they're my heart, and they're God's heart. And they have the capability to overcome the hardest situations that there is.
When I first started working here, I wasn't sure it was going to be a long-term career. And I tell you what, man, I wouldn't leave it for the world now, because you fall in love with these kids, you really do. And it's tough when you see them go. Some of them they're reintegrated with their parents, they're reintegrated at home, and which is an amazing thing. It's sad and amazing at the same time, because I mean, you miss them, you really do. It take you long at all to fall in love with every one of these children.
I think God put me here to come from California and then to come here. I mean, it's a lot. Just because I see, some of these kids have got some trauma. So for me to be able to help them and to help them with the horses, I know it helps them every day to be able to come down here and be around them.
Through being able to work with boundaries with him and being able to do coping skills and teach him and always being there to meet his need, he was able to learn how to start trusting again and starting to how to put those coping skills into play, and being able to be successful in his educational walk. He was able to graduate our program and graduate from school and be accepted into a college, and he called us on his first day of school and told us he was walking in and how excited he was. To this day, he still contacts us and keeps us informed with where he's at.
The work that we do at My Father's Arrows is powerful. It's needed. It's hard because there's about 4 children every day that we're unable to help, simply because we don't have room. That's about 28 children every week that could have been in our children's home getting the help that they need if we had the facilities and resources that we are praying for. And we'll ask you to be a part of this and pray with us, because there's a whole lot of children that need us, and there's a whole lot of work to be done. God's not done, so we're not done.